I never should have left that morning.
Stop. She told me you'd say all this.
Yeah. Don't go down that rabbit hole, man.
Ooh, bacon.
Greetings, tasty morsels. It's Reverse BLT here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are watching the finale of the first season of Andor, which is entitled Rick's Road. Pretty obvious that some shit's about to go down because we found out in the, I think it was the previous episode, that the people on Ferrix have a tradition of taking someone who's died, cremating them, and mixing their ashes into the mortar to make bricks. And that those bricks are then, they're basically added to a wall on Rick's Road, I think, and they have a ceremony there. The heavy-handed Garrison people, of course, didn't want to allow the ceremony because the Empire wants to stamp out anybody's traditions for no reason other than that they're not Imperial traditions. Miro wants to try to use the occasion to bait Cassian because obviously it was his mother Maarva who died. So she's pretty sure that, you know, if they can control the location, limit activity to a specific spot, and have good control over the surrounding area, then Cassian will most likely come there to try and be there for the ceremony, and they will be able to capture him. Pretty smart plan, actually.
I'm as shocked as you all are.
We saw that Bix is just broken. I don't know if she's going to be able to recover, but we do keep going back to her. So presumably there's some hope for her in her story going forward. Of course, it could just be that she's kind of like a still living fridge, so to speak, for Cassian, you know, but we'll see. I'm hoping that there's just, you know, there's actually more for the character to do. We also have Karn, who got information from the sergeant, the eager Scottish-sounding sergeant, that, you know, about what he learned about Cassian and what's going on Ferrix. So, of course, he's making a beeline there as well, setting up a renewed showdown so he can try to reclaim his honor, so to speak. I think all he's going to end up doing is fucking up Miro's operation. I still think the season ends with him in prison or dead, but in prison is more likely, I think. I don't know exactly what Luthen is going to be doing this episode, but he revealed that his little cargo ship is armed to the teeth. It has all sorts of crazy abilities that ships of that size and type typically don't have. In a interesting conversation,
Well, maybe that's not exactly the right word.
with a I don't know, I guess an interdictor. I think that was like a small star destroyer with you know, a bunch of sensor equipment and everything. I think that might have been an interdictor, but I'm not sure. I can't really remember all my ships anymore. Mon Mothma is basically currently weighing whether or not to essentially sell her daughter's hand in marriage to secure funding for the rebellion. Well, actually, really to secure, funding, but mainly to help hide money that she had already laid out for the rebellion, so that you know, she doesn't get imprisoned and removed as a source of funding, but also to secure future funding with a guy who doesn't seem shady on the surface, but judging by how she responds to him, his family wealth must have come from means that are looked down upon on their home world. In similar vein, there's this conflict between old traditions and sort of modern movements on her homeworld as well. She and her sister Vel, who of course is part of the rebellion as well, are more kind of like progressive, and it looks like Mon Mothma's daughter has basically, I guess, decided to seek some sort of comfort in the old ways, which actually makes me think that she'll probably be perfectly all right with an arranged marriage and everything if she's really all about the old traditions that they had. Also, Vel being impatient is causing problems for Clea and Luthen, and we see that actually a lot because we've got the same situation with Karn, also with Miro, is that he's probably going to also throw a monkey wrench into things because of his impatience and his like gung-ho-ness.
That's a made-up word.
They're all made up.
It's kind of funny, both the rebellion side and the Imperial side have the situation where you have people who are in charge and trying to run a very tight ship who are having their operations kind of threatened by underlings who are being a little reckless because of their own personal bugaboos, you know? And of course, extra ironically, I guess, on the rebellion side, we have Luthen, who is one of the leaders, but is also being reckless right now because of his personal bugaboos. I think he can see the end of his road. As he basically said himself in a previous episode, he's sacrificed everything that he could ever have or be or want. And I think it's just he's realizing now that, like, if he doesn't do something big, in a sense, it'll all have been for nothing because the rebellion won't really take off. You know, it's another parallel. There's lots of parallels this show sitting up between different people's situations. The prison thing is a parallel to his outlook on his own life. You know, what did they basically decide after they found out that none of them were ever getting out of there? We're all basically dead. You know, we need to basically move forward as if we're dead anyway. And I think that's how Luthen is moving forward. He basically is like, I'm dead anyway. I need to make this have meaning. And that's why he's behaving in a kind of a reckless manner too. But yeah, I've talked long enough.
The Lord.
I'm really excited to see where this is going, how this season ends. This has been an amazing Star Wars experience. It really is great to see what this universe is capable of giving to the adult fans when it's not worried about making something for kids, you know? Personally, the way I grew up, I think that you can make stuff for kids that's very mature. But everyone's so worried about scarring the children for life that they always end up being like kind of unwilling to really commit to anything really serious and deep. Star Wars being primarily aimed at kids tends to try to create a very fun, cartoony kind of black and white morality, simplistic kind of world where the heroes are obviously good, the villains are obviously bad. There's no real deep emotional conflicts and things like that. You might have a moment or two of depth where, you know, maybe a hero hesitates or something, or, you know, makes a bad decision and then has to come back from it. But that's about as deep as it usually gets. And so it's just really refreshing to see that when they want to, they can deliver something like this. I just hope that they decide to do more of this kind of like serious adult-oriented storytelling in the Star Wars universe in the future. But anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it and see how this season closes out. Oh, that's cool. They're basically doing a version of the theme that's a funeral dirge. Odd scene just now. Was that one of the guys that had escaped from the prison? Oh, it's where they're keeping Bix. Cameras? So the Empire does use cameras sometimes. Why don't you guys have these in more places? No, this isn't one of the guys that escaped from the prison.
Looked like you were wrapping up, so I thought I'd wait.
How long you been here?
I spoke to Cassian.
What?
Hey, maybe keep your fucking voice down, buddy.
Does he know about Maarva?
Yeah, he does now. It was a very short conversation. He asked about the funeral.
Let's walk.
Oh yeah, of course that guy's gonna try to turn him in. He's got beef with him.
I don't listen to hip-hop. He'd be insane to come back now.
I hope you told him that.
Like I said, it was a very short call.
I mean, he should know better, but Cassian's a bit of a hothead. I'm sorry, but Cinta stands out too much. She always has such an intense look on her face. Back when I was working security and everything, she's exactly the kind of person I would have noticed pretty much right away.
Not being there for your mum, have Brasso place a stone just breaks your heart, right? You gotta feel for Cassian. I'd be losing my mind.
I would think in a small community like this, all these people have to know that he and Cassian don't get along. Okay, so what is this, a bomb? Now that it's coming together, it's looking more and more like a bomb. Oh, this is Pox's son. Okay. Explains why he looked familiar. Someone did a really good job of casting here. This is the first shot I've seen of her where I can really clearly see that it is Mon Mothma.
I'm cognitively there.
Cloris, we'd like privacy, please.
Ma'am.
What now?
You're gambling again.
Nonsense.
And here, in Coruscant.
That's ridiculous. It's a lie. It's total fantasy.
Pretty sure that privacy wasn't going to be real privacy with this guy.
Where would I get the money?
That's the question that scares me the most.
Okay, Mom Mothma, what game are you playing right now? Because I'm certain she knows that he was listening to this whole conversation, so she's setting something up. Hey, Vel.
He's a guy in town. His boss showed up tonight. Good to see you too.
Sorry, Vel, but she's on mission. It's hard in a relationship to know that you're not the most important thing. Real good job hiding, Cassian. No, no one would ever see you or know you're back in town. Not at all.
I'm warning you, being this sarcastic is dangerous!
The man that sees everything, he's more blessed than cursed. Look at that, here we go. Stand back, let it drip.
Clem again, right?
People don't look down the way they should. They don't look down, they don't look past the rust. Not us, though, eh? Eyes open, possibilities everywhere.
Wait, was that the guy that was with her when they found him? I just thought about that. Man, my face blindness is really terrible.
There will be times when the struggle seems impossible. I know this already. Alone, unsure, dwarfed by the scale of the enemy. Remember this.
This the manifesto?
Authority is brittle. Oppression is the mask of fear. Remember that. And know this. The day will come when all these skirmishes and battles, these moments of defiance will have flooded the banks of the Empire's authority, and then there will be one too many. One single thing will break the siege.
Those some wise fucking words. I wonder if people will remember his name. 1,000 years from now, will Nimic the philosopher be remembered? So inconspicuous, my dude.
The big man. We've been played. Where is he?
About to beat the shit out of you, probably.
The last time I saw her, we argued. I told her I was coming back.
Stop. I never should have left that morning.
Stop. She told me you'd say all this.
Yeah. Don't go down that rabbit hole, man.
Tell him none of this is his fault. It was already burning. He's just the first spark of the fire. Tell him he knows everything he needs to know and feels everything he needs to feel. And when the day comes that those two pull together, he will be an unstoppable force for good. Tell him I love him more than anything he could ever do wrong.
At least he got to hear her last thoughts on him. That's more than a lot of people get. It'd be funny if the same old dude that was talking to to Luthen on his way in is here talking to them. We're gonna get another visit with poor Stair Droid. I mean, there's a window right there. Alright, so who's watching them?
This motherfucker. Jacinta,
She's watching the mother's house.
forget that. Get up to the hotel. I'll have a look around. What's going on?
Change of plans is what's going on. I do not like the sound of that. Discordant music. See what I mean about how they're conspicuous because they're not looking at the right things?
Who started? They're coming from all over town.
I want everything out here. Show of force immediately.
Too bad the Empire doesn't know the adage about getting more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Double the reward.
You found him?
I want twice as much and a ride out of him when it's over.
Where is he?
Pretend you're arresting me.
Hey! What do you think you're doing? Hey, move! Move!
Does he not understand how quickly this could turn into a real arrest because the Empire can't be trusted to honor any of their agreements? I really like how this is layering on top of itself, all these different scenes. I tell you, you guys are bad at your jobs. You don't know how to properly search a building.
Quit acting like you know what you're talking about.
What are they saying? Stone and sky, okay. It's her last message telling everybody to rebel.
Wait for it.
Where you stand now, I've been more times than I can remember. I always wanted to be lifted. I was always eager, always waiting to be inspired. I remember every time it happened, every time the dead lifted me. With their truth.
Feeling kind of shitty now, aren't you, bro?
And now I'm dead. And I yearn to lift you. Not because I want to shine or even be remembered. It's because I want you to go on. The Empire is a disease that thrives in darkness. It is never more alive than when we sleep. It's easy for the dead to tell you to fight. And maybe it's true. Maybe fighting's useless. Perhaps it's too late. But I'll tell you this. If I could do it again, I'd wake up early and be fighting these bastards from the start.
Too late now, my dude. Hey! Yeah, kick his ass. Nobody touches B. You little cowardly piece of shit.
Come on. Don't get angry.
Poor thing's broken. Good throw, kid. Damn. Oh, shit. That was more effective than planned? Or maybe that's exactly what he planned. I don't know. I tell you, Stormtrooper armor really is completely useless, isn't it? Yeah, someone can just headbutt you and knock you out through the helmet. But at least we'll get to see Cinta kill this guy.
There's that bloodlust I was looking for.
You. What are you doing here?
Did I answer your question? A damn good shot. That, yeah. Well, reap what you sowed, buddy.
That's some cold shit.
I'm not even sorry.
Damn. Well, I gotta hand it to her. She's not a coward.
You were in trouble.
Weirdest little obsessive love connection thing I've ever seen.
Thank you. You don't have to.
All I needed for him to do is tip his hat and say, "Milady."
No, not coming.
Not today, baby.
I never got to see you.
You're seeing him now.
Cassian will find us.
I will.
I'll find you.
Got another kid being swept away to a whole new life. Hoping they didn't do anything like station a destroyer in orbit. I have a feeling introductions are about to happen that Mon Mothma didn't want. Yep. He looks none too thrilled to be there. But like I said, yeah, you can see in her face, she's embraced the whole traditionalism thing, so she's probably pretty happy about this.
Prepare for evac. Full stealth.
I have a feeling Cassian's on board.
You came here to kill me, didn't you? You don't make it easy.
Well, at least he's honest.
Kill me. Or take me in.
You really want to give up this asset? When it comes to you willingly? I'm definitely going to have to insert a caution so it begins clip here.
No.
Oh, showing what all the different things they were building are being used for. Kind of looks like a satellite array. The Death Star. I still don't understand how those things work for the Death Star, but okay. They look like they were designed to articulate.
You're so close.
I don't know. I don't even know why I'm thinking about it, honestly. It's G-Wiz super future, or super past, I guess, technically. Hyper sci-fi tech that doesn't follow any rules that we understand, so I'm just overthinking it. This was a fantastic season of television. I like how it was an entire meditation on how we get radicalized, what an empire is, like what an oppressive regime really is. We get our first true look under the surface of what the empire was, to understand it as a true oppressive regime, rather than just being told, oh well, they're the bad guys, they're the enemies. Sure, we saw some examples of what made them something that needed to go down in the original movies and stuff, like for instance just destroying an entire planet to send a message and to test a super weapon. But getting to actually see the sort of day-to-day oppression, the underlying ideologies, the way that they treat the different peoples that they conquer and all these sorts of things really kind of helped to hammer home exactly why people would be way better off without them, you know? Because that's always a question, you know, in a lot of stories, when you have like some sort of evil empire, kingdom, dark lord, or whatever, they don't really bother to answer the question of exactly how the average person's life is worse under them, and how getting rid of them and creating a huge power vacuum and everything else wouldn't just make everything much worse for the people. This season of TV did a pretty good job of explaining that. And also just showing how, like, you know, some of the things that we typically don't really focus on also lead to, contribute to an empire's collapse. Such as, like, you know, inflexible bureaucracies and the way they respond to confrontation. You know, I think people kind of understand that on some level, because we always talk about, like, oh, you know, heavy-handed regimes or brutal regimes. But I think we tend to think of them as just being that that's just how they always are. Like every single action they ever take, no matter what, is always heavy-handed and brutal. But it's usually some sort of response. Like Nemec was saying in his manifesto that we got to hear a little bit of, you know, power is fragile, you know, and like, you know, oppression is basically a response from fear. And we see that with the Empire. The Empire understands that its position is tenuous. But the thing is, like I was saying before, a new government, or something that comes in from the outside, can endear itself to the people it conquers. But it is, like he was saying, fear. They're so afraid that any kind of sign of weakness will lead to their downfall, that rather than showing, look at how we embrace you and look at how great we can make life for you under our rule, instead they focus on like crushing the spirit of the people they've conquered and holding them down and putting them in their place and all that kind of stuff so that they can't hurt them, and which of course just breeds resentment and foments revolution. I really liked how they built on it, though. It's like it wasn't just people everywhere going, "Oh, viva la revolution, destroy the empire." It was these little irritations, these little acts of injustice, indignity, and just being hurt and bent and broken that built on each other. Like Maarva was basically saying, it's like a little spark that will create a huge fire. All these little sparks were being allowed to burn all over the galaxy. And the Empire, of course, thought that the problem was that there wasn't enough order, there wasn't enough force being applied. But of course, the force was what was fanning the flames to begin with. I was wrong about who I thought was going to be dead or in prison by the end of the season. Pretty much nobody was, except Maarva. I think Maarva was the only one I really predicted was going to be dead. We still have all the other characters in the story really in play, which I was surprised by. So it's going to be really interesting to see where we go second season. So I'm going to make some predictions as I always do. I'm not one of those reactors who's afraid of people realizing I was wrong. I mean, for one thing, I think that's half the fun for you guys, is to sit there and tally up when I'm completely off base.
So much fun.
The easiest ones, obviously, are second season is going to be all about Cassian actually becoming part of the rebellion now, like integrating into it, learning what it means to be an operator. I have a feeling he's going to be put back with Vel and Cinta for, basically on-the-job training. I also think that next season he may get part of the conflict he will face in terms of, because you always want to have stress between the character and the group that he's integrating into, if that's where you're going. So I think that pressure is going to come from discovering information about where his sister is, which will put him at cross purposes with the group. With the rebellion, because they're going to want him to be doing certain things and he's going to want to go off on his own or whatever to try to find his sister. Even more complicated if she ends up being somehow in with people that the rebellion wants to target. I don't know if they're going to go that far, but I definitely think that his sister's going to come back into play in the story next season. I think Luthen's position is going to become more precarious next season, because after all, we've been talking about how he's been increasingly reckless. It's hard to gauge how much exposure anyone has, just because of the fact that the Empire seems really inconsistent in its application of surveillance technology, tracking technology, and things like that. So I don't know if anyone has any way of knowing that he came to Ferrix around this time. If they did, then his position is going to be obviously way more precarious than it is now. But that's something they're just going to have to reveal to us. It seems that the amount of surveillance and everything the Empire uses is always dependent on the plot. So even in this show, as well written as it was. Same thing with Mon Mothma. I think she's playing the game very well, though, considering right now, because I think one of the reasons why she allowed that conversation to be heard by the driver, or what brought up the topic, so that the driver would eavesdrop and hear it about her husband having a gambling problem, is to give a little bit of cover for why she might be having this relationship with this banker with maybe a seedy reputation, because otherwise the Empire probably would be very suspicious of that. But if they think, well, her husband is a gambler who's probably getting money from shady people, they'll just go, oh, that's what's going on here. That's his shady guy. That's his connection. And also maybe it would help cover any kind of like short-term irregularities in her banking accounts that they find, is that she can kind of, basically the implication being that her husband has been sort of moving money around in weird ways to try and cover his gambling debts and just not being very good at it, which is another little layer of plausible deniability. We do see, though, that she has accepted the deal with the banker to introduce their children to each other. It looks like his son is not nearly as on board with the idea as her daughter, though, which is fascinating. Though I did expect her daughter to be, totally okay with it, because she is a traditionalist, and this is all about, the whole arranged marriage thing is part of that old tradition. I don't know what kind of pressure that's going to put on Vel going forward, because obviously her being part of the family, but also being part of the rebellion. So you have two people in the same prominent family, both of whom are in the rebellion, both of whom have high exposure, one with the money side of things, funding all of the, now terrorist activities that are going to be happening, and the other one being an operator who is directly, executing some of these terrorist activities. That's an extremely high level of exposure, and them being in the same family creates like an extra layer of connection. So very dangerous for the group going forward, just having the Mothma family be involved. Karn and Miro. There's an obvious romantic subplot being developed here. The question is whether or not it will be reciprocal. Right now, Karn is being very much a, kind of neckbeardy kind of dude here. He's being obsessive. This is very one-sided, I think, at the moment. But I think Miro is increasingly impressed with him. And I do get the feeling that she, kind of like him, has been so single-mindedly focused on her career and her advancement and just on, serving the Empire, that she hasn't really given herself any time to think about romance. And here's someone who, it's inarguable that they are very much two peas in a pod, or birds of a feather, I guess I should say. They're very similar to one another in a lot of ways. And so it is possible that an actual genuine connection, love connection that's, mutual, will develop. That's going to be very interesting to see, actually, to see how they develop that, because so far it's the believable amount of creepy, because it is kind of weird how obsessive he is, and that it's obvious that it's not just the obsession for finding Andor, but there's also like he sees something in her that he's very impressed with and is taken with her. Writing that in a way that transitions to an actual relationship is hard. So I'm very curious to see how they actually handle that. It's just going to be very interesting to see how we move into this. I'm going to, judging by the state of the Death Star, because I can't remember whether they told us exactly. Wait, no, they did, because in the first episode they said what year it was. So what was it, 5 BBY?
Sure, why not?
So Cassian is literally like 4 years away from his death, right? I'm wondering if this series is going to basically run all the way up to the beginning of Rogue One, in which case I guess this is going to probably get slated for 3 or 4 seasons, right? If you guys know, feel free to let me know in the comments. And while you're there, let's talk about this season, guys. Let me know what you thought of this finale. Let me know what you thought of the season overall. And let me know where you think things are going. Obviously, like I said throughout this whole thing, we know where Cassian's story ends. But figuring out how we're going to fill in the blanks between, here and there, there's a lot of potential there. Like, for instance, like some of the prisoners that he escaped with, will we see them again? The Andy Serkis's character managed to get off the platform even though he couldn't swim. The other guy that Cassian was with, who said people need to know, we need to get the information out there so that they know what's going on. Will we see him again? I hope we do.
Elsie?
That's also part of building a rebellion, letting the common folk and even the upper class folks know what's actually going on in these prisons. I'm sure, there's going to be a decent number of people on all levels of society who are going to be upset that prisoners are being abused and that their, rights to reintegrate into society after, serving their time and everything are being completely stepped on, and they're being made into this permanent slaves. those are types of things that also help fuel rebellions. I wonder whether Nemik's words are going to get out there and win, and I would love to see, like, you know, people talking about his ideas. And there's another potential point of conflict in the Maarva household, because her daughters are traditionalists, so presumably she's not going to like these ideas when she hears them. And is she going to be a potential informant on her mother and all these other things? You know, there's just so much meat here. You know, let me know what you guys think. As always, do your best to stay safe and be well. And I will see you for whatever's next. May the force be with you guys. Bye-bye.
Ah, my little darling, it is love at first sight, is it not? No?